All praises to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rakha Kudash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of great millstone that rule well, laboring in word and doctrine, shalom and peace. May that be unto the elect of the nation of Israel. In Philippians chapter 3, verse 12, it says, not as though I had already attained, either were already perfect, but I follow after, if that I may apprehend that for which also I am apprehended of Hamashiach Yahweh Shai. Well, there's a lot going on. We'll get it in the NLT. It says, I don't mean to say that I have already achieved these things or that I have already reached perfection, but I press on to possess that perfection for which Hamashiach Yahweh Shai first possessed me. So we're looking, we've been saved from the pollution of this world. It talks about the preaching of the cross is to them that perish foolishness, but unto us who are saved, is the power of the Most High, power of the Anointed. Now, we're not there yet. No one can say, well, I'm 100% sure I'm of the elect. You might be sure, but you might not be. You might be sure that you're of the elect, but you might not be of the elect. So what do? We give our diligence to make our calling and election sure. Right, so we press on, like it says there. So it's not that we've already attained, that we've already got, that we've already reached, the end goal, but we're following after it. That we may follow, apprehend that for which I am apprehended of Hamashiach Yahweh Shai. It says, brethren, I count not myself to have apprehended, but this one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind, and reaching forth unto those things which are before. Yahweh Shai said it best, he that endureth to the end, the same shall be saved. Right, you should be hated of all nations for my name's sake, but he that endureth until the end shall be saved. No one in a race, you're not going to see, a marathon. My man does half the marathon and gets a fucking medal. Or even comes, if you don't cross the line, you don't get in. You could do a millimeter, a meter, a centimeter. Should have probably done it in the reverse order. But, you could be a millimeter off the mark. If you're not on the mark, you're not going to get the prize. Right? So we need to aim for that mark. Know ye not that they which run in a race run all, but one receiveth the prize. So run that you may obtain. Right? This truth is a race. Right? Verse 14, Philippians 3:14. I press toward the mark for the prize of the high calling of the Most High in Hamashiach Yahweh Shai. So let's look at some of these words. This is one of the words we use skopos or skopeo to distinguish, charagma. The name Markos, I believe it would be, skopos. So there's different words in the Greek for the English word mark. These are evidences that you need to go further than, you need to go subdermal, right? You need to go beyond skin deep. So it says skopos. It says an observer, obviously the word scope. So it says an observer, a watchman. The distant mark looked at, the goal or end one has in view. Right, so you mark, if you're scoping out, a location, say you've got a job and, you're not quite sure where it is, so you're going to check the site, you'd be scoping it out. Right, so you're observing it, you're looking at it. So I press toward the mark, the skopos, and was being zoomed in on for the prize. So we're looking for this, I believe this is where you get the term bribe, if I'm not mistaken.
17, Brabayon.
That was the G1017. Sorry, my audio was down at the start. It says the award to the victor in the games, a prize. Metaphor of the heavenly reward for Christian character. A Christian character going into applying the scriptures, being of that group that's eligible for salvation, i.e. the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And finally, believing in Hamashiach, believing in the Messiah, right, the anointed one. Right, that's Christian character, applying the scriptures. Right? And that's how you're able to achieve the prize. The prize ultimately is what? Salvation, rulership, the kingdom. right, of the high calling of the Most High in Hamashiach Yahushai. We'll look at this word for calling, and this is where you get the term ecclesia, like Ecclesiastes, Ecclesiasticus.
Strong's G 2821. Klesis.
Ecclesis. A calling. It says a calling to, a call, invitation. Right, so you get ecclesis to the places. It says to a feast of the divine invitation to embrace salvation of the Most High. And that's what it is. You know, how you're calling, brethren, not many mighty, not many noble, you know, are called. So we need to take this seriously. You know, we need to respect it and reverence it as the true treasure that it is. You know, faith is a gift. So if we're able to believe in this truth, you know, that's a gift. We should be grateful for that. And therefore, you know, offer that living sacrifice, presenting our bodies as a living sacrifice daily. Right, 3:15. It says, let us therefore as many as be perfect, be thus minded, and if anything ye be otherwise minded, the Most High shall reveal even this unto you. You know, we're meant to be like-minded. Right? Who hath known the mind of the Most High? But we have the mind of Hamashiach. So we're meant to be like-minded. Yahushai is ultimately our example, but then you have examples under him. For example, you have Apostle Paul. Now, Yahushai did stuff that we, you know, may not be able to do, or I'll say that we won't be doing. Let me rephrase that and be very clear. Let me take a full-on stance. Let me not hedge. There's stuff the Messiah did that we absolutely will not be doing. Right? We will not be getting crucified verbatim. We'll not be crucified literally for the reconciliation of sins for the nation of Israel. You know, where only the elect would profit. Just add that in. Right? We're not going to do that. But there's certain things we'll have to carry our cross. We'll have to bear our burden in our own walk. You know, in our own manner, in our own way. So Yahushai is that example, that ensample of righteousness. But then you've got examples, for example, Apostle Paul, right? Now we can do, and again, each case by case, don't take it literally, but understand what I'm saying by this. Apostle Paul was a follower of Yahushai. You know, so he led that example. Yahushai is the example, you know, of how to be. But Apostle Paul, you know, could be taken as an example of a follower of Yahushai. Yahushai, of course, didn't follow himself. You know, so there's certain things that Apostle Paul will have done, you know, that you can apply and say, well, that's how you follow the Messiah, rather than that's how you be as the Messiah. You know, which that, you know, following and being as, you know, are similar. But then there's a point where Yahushua did stuff, you know, that we will not be doing. You know, but at the same time, we'll have to bear our cross, bear our burden, you know, carry our cross. Yahushua spoke about greater things than these will you do. You know, so we're meant to be thus minded. We're meant to have the mind of Yahushua. We're meant to be like-minded, as in we're meant to all be of one accord in submitting unto Yahushua, meaning to give power over to, you know, to yield, right? To not try and buck up against. It says, nevertheless, whereto we have already attained, let us walk by the same rule. Let us mind the same thing. Right? Going into thinking the same thing. You know, and then here we are. You know, this kind of backs up what I was just saying now. Verse 17, brethren, be followers together of me, and mark them which walk so, as ye have us for an ensample. Right? Apostle Paul said, I believe it is in Romans. Let's see if I got this. Where's Apostle Paul telling us to follow him? But not Romans 11. 1 Corinthians 11 and 1. It says, be ye followers of me, even as I am of Hamashiach. Right? Same things was said in Philippians. Right? Be ye followers of me, even as I also am of Hamashiach. So Apostle Paul, we're to follow, you know, because he showed us a way. He was an example of how to follow the Messiah. Right? And we'll clear up the last things here. Verse 18 says, "For many walk, of whom have I told you often, and now tell you even weeping, that they are enemies of the cross of Hamashiach, whose end is destruction, whose God is their belly, and whose glory is in their shame, who mind earthly things." Right? And it talks about as many as walk according to this rule. Right? Galatians chapter 6 verse 16 says, "And as many as walk according to this rule, peace be on them and mercy upon the Israel of power," the Israel of the Most High. Right? Not just any old Israelite. Romans 16 and 17 says, "Now I beseech you, brethren, mark them which cause divisions and offences contrary to the doctrine which ye have learned, and avoid them. For they that are such serve not our Lord Yahushua HaMashiach, but their own belly, and by good words and fair speeches deceive the hearts of the simple." So those two verses, are summarized, basically, are surmised in this. Philippians 3:18 and 19. "For many walk, of whom have I told you often," right, not according to this rule, so they won't be the Israel of the Most High, they'll be the Israel of the adversary, right, Hashatan. And now tell you even weeping, that they are the enemies of the cross of Hamashiach, whose end is destruction, whose God is their belly. They're talking about them that cause divisions and offenses contrary, they're serving another God themselves, right, they're idolizing themselves. "Whose end is destruction, whose God is their belly, and whose glory is in their shame, who mind earthly things." I might as well finish the chapter. "For our conversation is in heaven," conversation going into behavior as well. "From whence also we look for the Savior, the Lord, Yahushua HaMashiach, who shall change our vile body, that it may be fashioned like unto his glorious body, according to the working whereby he is able even to subdue all things unto himself. We shall not all sleep, we shall all be changed. In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, the trumpet shall sound, and that's when them that are alive of the elect will be changed, from a terrestrial body, meaning terror to do with the earth, to a celestial body, to do with the heavens. Right, so we ought to be like-minded and press toward the mark of the prize, for the prize. Right, we're in this for a prize, let's not forget. We're in this for a reason, we're in this to win it. Let's not half-ass it. On to the next one, Lord willing, shalom.